I really couldn't let go without making this one more video. I was going to try to type all this out, but then I just realized this will make so much more sense if I do this with a video. So there's a chart that you can see that is not in this picture right now. It's called the IAP2 Public Participation Spectrum. And it's actually a great little tool for public servants when they are thinking about the degree of involvement that they want from the community, and what that degree of involvement means, what it involves, and what the tools are that get used. I'm going to challenge you to think about this tool, which you're going to be excited, I think, when you see it, because you're going to see the possibilities of it. But I want to challenge you to realize that this tool does not go far enough, and it does not come from a place of participatory practice or ABCD. It comes from the old place, right? Okay, if you like the cute little show, The Good Place and the Bad Place, that comes from the bad place. All right, so I want to introduce you to it, but I want to challenge you to think about what it would mean to involve people from the good place, from a better place. I won't say that that's a bad chart. It's actually a good tool as far as it goes. It doesn't go far enough. All right, the chart that I'm talking about was built based on these core values that you see in front of you. And because these videos are little, I really have no idea how well you are seeing all this stuff. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. There's got to be some way to do this. That wasn't it. I'm not sure why, but I don't have my little select all thing going. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Now let's see if we can make these bigger. All right, let's just take a look at them. Let's just start with the first one. It says public participation is based on the belief that those who are affected by a decision have a right to be involved in the decision-making process. I would contend that based on what we have read today, that they have more than a right to be involved. They may have the right, in fact, they probably do have the right, it may not always be fully possible, but they should have the right to actually make the decision. In fact, they should have the right to decide who helps facilitate that decision-making process from the outside, and if they need an outside person to facilitate that process. Okay, so you can see that this very first core value comes from the perspective of the technician, the public servant technician, either in the nonprofit or in the government, who basically says, well, we've got to make XYZ decision, but we believe that the community has a right to be involved in that. Involved, that could be a little bit involved, that could be a lot involved. I think that we know, after having this semester of looking at this through some other eyes, that they should be involved from the very beginning, and they should actually make the decision about who needs to be at the table, and who, if somebody is coming in from the outside, who that should be, what skill set the community feels they need to bring in from the outside, and what purpose that outside person or entity should serve. The community should make that decision. All right. Public participation includes the promise that the public's contribution will influence the decision. Absolutely, it should not only influence the decision, it should drive the decision. Okay, so I would challenge this word. Should be drive. Yeah. All right, there we go. Public participation promotes sustainable decisions by recognizing and communicating the needs and interests of all participants, including decision makers. And I think we could agree with that. That the next question that we would have is, how are you going to recognize and communicate the needs and interests of all participants? How will you get to that information? Public participation seeks out and facilitates the involvement of all those potentially affected by or interested in a decision. That is the stakeholder premise. Public participation seeks input from participants in designing how they participate. Yes, absolutely. The participants should drive the design. They may need a facilitator to walk them through the process of doing the design if they don't have those skills themselves. But ultimately, the facilitator is just that. They're neutral and they help the community and the participants come to their own conclusions about the best way to move forward. Public participation provides participants with information they need to participate in a meaningful way. We haven't actually talked about this, but in any community development, there's going to be a need for change. There's going to be a list of people who need to be at the table and who care and who are impacted, the participants, the community members, the stakeholders, and that would be from citizens individually through institutions, and they're all going to have different bits of information that they bring to this conversation. They're going to tell their stories and put the information and the data that they have on the table. Even when all of that is done, there may still be a need to go out and collect more information. That would be the time when you might turn to your local university and say, university, we're trying to create XYZ social change in our community. We've got this long list of information and ideas that we have, but we can't move forward until we collect ABC kind of data that we need to help us make this decision. So this is basically where the university could come in handy. Okay, public participation provides participants with the information they need to participate in a meaningful way. And that is true, and that's also part of the design piece of putting public participation together. How can you do this? A very simple example that I can give you that just will illuminate this problem is if you are trying to involve members of a community, when and where are you going to have these meetings? Are you going to have them during the work week when many people cannot come? We hope not. Are you going to have them in a place where people are comfortable going, a church or a community center that is frequented? We hope so. All these things need to be thought about, all right? It's funny because this comes up a lot when we talk about voter repression or suppression. I'm not sure which word is right, but at any rate, when you reduce the number of polling places, when you make the hours that the polling places available only open during the day, when you make it someplace hard to get to or away from public transportation, in all of these ways, you basically preclude people from participating. You've got to think about those same types of problems when you are getting people together in a community for participation. And finally, public participation communicates to participants how their input affected the decision. Again, their input, they should be making the decision. That's my take on all of this. All right. Here is a little bit different spectrum of public participation. It's just put out a little bit differently. And it's inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. And even though their values don't say it, I like this piece right here where it says to place the final decision making in the hands of the public. Ultimately, you want to do that. Now, there are times when you can't. If you have some kind of an emergency or a crisis and a decision must be made very, very quickly, you will have to figure out what public input is absolutely necessary to moving forward. And, if there was a weather event or a tornado or a hurricane or something, you don't have a lot of time for democratic process. but when you are trying to plan for what the community is going to become, it's important to go ahead and make that time. All right, I want to say one more thing, and then I'm going to be done with this, but I hope that these tools that are here for you might be something that you can take away with you and you can think about. I'm going to attach this document, and obviously I've already embedded the other document for you. I want to just say one more quick thing before I say goodbye. All of this is about the ethics of approaching and working with the community. It's about respecting the dignity of the community. It's about respecting the values of the community. It's about respecting the local knowledge of the community about itself. This is about ethics. Ethics are rules that we use in particular environments. There are medical ethics, there are legal ethics, and so forth. People who are public servants who interact with community for any reason at all have ethical obligation to afford dignity, respect, and worth to the people that they work with and to the community that they're working with as a whole and to the stakeholders and individuals in it. And so this whole entire class really has been about the ethics of approaching a community and going into a community and working with the community. And I can't emphasize that more clearly. When you do research as an academic, literally there are rules about ethical research, but we don't have rules about ethical interaction or engagement with the community. And if you think about everything you've learned in this class, I think that you will get that this whole class is about not only the fact that these tools work for the community, but that they are also ethical approaches for you as a professional to make sure that your participation with the community is helpful and not harmful. And that's it. I hope that you have enjoyed this class as much as I have enjoyed you. Thank you.